Now we came here because she's also.
Now we're here because, of course, she is too. Picture stepping into the design center, the air buzzing with anticipation. 28 players on the entry list, 2 former champions silently waiting in the draw, indoor red clay stretching beneath your feet for the very first time in 2026, and the unshakable weight of 115 million eyes back home, watching every point, every move. That is Alex Eala's world in just 5 days. The crowd erupts before she even touches the baseline, because the WTA 500 Upper Austria Ladies Linz Open isn't just about defending champion Ekaterina Alexandrova or past winner Yelena Ostapenko. No, it's about the 20-year-old Filipino, projected as the number 7 seed, who has yet to face a clay match this season, stepping into the storm with everything to prove. And the glimpses she shared from Morca this week hint at exactly how she intends to seize it. Just 7 days ago, Ella was still absorbing the final notes of her Miami journey, a run that lifted her to a career-high ranking and stamped her as a legitimate, undeniable force on the WTA Tour. Every eye, every expectation, every heartbeat is now focused on her next move, the next story, the next breakthrough, all unfolding under the bright lights, on clay that has yet to tell its full tale now. Fresh training reels from the Rafa Nadal Academy capture her locked in, eyes steely, trading 14-ball rallies on the very same indoor red clay where she will face battle in Linz. The leap from hardcourt heartbreak to clay court focus took less than a week, yet the field in Austria shows no mercy for a surface newcomer trying to find her footing. The 2026 Linz draw reads like a gauntlet, each match designed to test every ounce of a young player's composure. Ekaterina Alexandrova, world number 13 and defending champion, returns to the courts she mastered a year ago, carrying not just skill, but a map of every inch she's conquered before. Yelena Ostapenko, ranked 23 and the 2017 Linz winner, brings a high-voltage, unpredictable power game that can shred an opponent's rhythm before the first set even breathes. Emma Raducanu had been listed among the seeds, stirring whispers of a generational clash, only for that drama to vanish today with her confirmed withdrawal, sidelined by a lingering viral illness, leaving the storylines open, suspense lingering, and the stage ready for someone else to seize the moment. But Raducanu's absence does nothing to soften this field. It merely erases a headline while leaving the real story intact. 2 former champions, comfortable on clay, a 28-player draw stacked with seasoned operators of this surface, and at the center, a projected 7th seed whose last competitive match on any court ended in a scoreline she would rather erase from memory. This is far from a warm-up. This is a WTA 500 where ranking points bite, where the draw ceremony on April 5th could pit Eala against a former champion as early as the second round, and where the clay itself feels like a living, breathing opponent. The entry list underlines what analysts have been warning since mid-March. This is one of the most brutal WTA 500 fields of the spring clay season. Alexandrova tops the draw as the number 1 seed and reigning champion, while Ostapenko claims her spot with a title already engraved into Linz history, both ready to test anyone daring enough to stand in their way. Ella, projected as the number 7 seed despite her current ranking of 45, steps into a bracket where any path to the quarterfinals likely runs through a rival steeped in clay court mastery. The tournament leaves no room to hide. Now imagine being the women who face her. Alexandrova and Ostapenko carry experience, carry surface knowledge, but neither shoulders the hopes of an entire nation with every swing. Neither has training clips circulating across Filipino media this week, dissected frame by millions, all searching for a hint that their champion is ready. Neither has felt the scrutiny of ABS-CBN Sports or the Manila Bulletin tracking every single drill as if it were a deciding set of a major final. Even the preparation tells its own story of intent. Verified footage from the Rafa Nadal Academy this week shows Ella drilling relentlessly on indoor red clay, the exact surface she will confront in Linz, each ball echoing the determination of a young player who knows that every frame, every hit, every moment counts. The rallies are long, physical, deliberate. She isn't guessing at what clay demands, she is crafting her adjustment in real time, on the very courts she will face, guided by an academy that has shaped some of the greatest clay court tennis ever seen. This is precise, surgical preparation aimed at a single challenge. Monday, recovering from Miami. Wednesday, intense clay sessions in Mallorca. Sunday, the draw ceremony in Linz. In days, she compresses weeks of normal surface adaptation, and that compression is no accident, it's a statement. Filipino social media felt the urgency before any analyst could, capturing every glimpse of her focus. In the past week alone, hashtags like hashtag Pinoy Pride and hashtag Alex Eala surged across X and Instagram, posts from major Philippine outlets calling on fans to flood comment sections with support, declaring clay season loading. The energy isn't casual. It isn't fleeting. It's organized. It's passionate. And it's rooted in something far deeper than mere fandom. Every Filipino tennis fan watching these training reels knows this isn't just about Linz. This is about proving that her breakout wasn't a fluke. That the young woman who toppled Coco Gauff and carved deep into WTA 1000 draws can do it on clay as well. And here's why this anticipation feels earned, not premature. The pattern is already clear. First, the WTA 125 titles. Then the WTA 250 breakthroughs. Then the WTA 1000 deep runs at Indian Wells and Miami, including wins over top 20 opponents. Each level came faster than the last. Each surface transition, from juniors to pros, from smaller tournaments to premier events, followed the same arc: doubt, preparation, execution. Linz is the next point on a trajectory that has consistently rewarded those who believed early. You, the fans who tracked every match, shared every highlight, defended her potential in comment sections crowded with skeptics, are now witnesses to the next chapter of a journey that refuses to be anything less than remarkable. You saw this pattern before the rankings made it official. The Linz entry list is the WTA itself confirming what you already suspected: Alex Eala belongs in these fields. The tour's own coverage frames it with unmistakable clarity. Past champions Alexandrova, Ostapenko lead Linz field, Eala to make debut. That phrasing, placing a 20-year-old debut alongside names with Grand Slam titles and years of clay court mastery, is no accident. The WTA editorial team selects who to feature in previews based on drawing power, narrative weight, and audience demand. Ella's presence in that headline, shoulder to shoulder with proven champions, is a calculated signal of who moves the needle for global viewership. The governing body of women's tennis is speaking its own language. This young Filipino star is now a headliner. She is no longer a curiosity, no longer a developmental prospect. She is a name that sells tournaments, a force whose presence alone changes the story. When the very institution that governs the sport places you in the same sentence as defending champions, the question of whether you belong changes forever. Linz does not exist in isolation. It sits at the entrance of the European clay court corridor, the stretch of tournaments that funnels into Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and ultimately Roland Garros. Every point Eala earns on Austria's red clay feeds her ranking as she heads into the most prestigious clay swing in tennis. A quarterfinal in Linz could cement her inside the top 40. A semifinal might propel her back toward the career high ground she reached just 2 weeks ago. But the stakes go beyond numbers. More than 115 million Filipinos form one of Asia's fastest-growing tennis audiences, and they are watching this clay debut as a referendum. Can their champion master the surface that has long defined European dominance in the sport? Every rally, every point, every shot carries the weight of a nation's hopes, and the story of a young player stepping into her destiny. Tournament directors from Stuttgart to Paris are watching the viewership numbers closely, because those numbers translate directly into sponsorship deals, broadcast rights, and ticket demand. The next 6 weeks, from Linz to Madrid, will decide whether Ella's 2026 season is remembered as a one-off hardcourt spike or the start of a true all-surface rise. Clay will answer everything. 16 days ago, Eala walked off the Miami court after a 0-6, 2-6 fourth-round loss to Karolina Muchova. It was her harshest defeat of the hardcourt swing, a humbling reminder that the leap from beating top 20 players to consistently competing with the elite is real and unforgiving. She had entered that match riding 3 consecutive wins, including a gutsy 3-set comeback against Laura Siegemund. The loss cost her 16 ranking spots. Her response didn't come in excuses nor in silence. It came in a single phrase during the post-match press conference, a line that revealed everything about who she is at 20 years old. Focused, unshaken, and ready for what comes next. Within days, she was back at the Rafa Nadal Academy, pounding clay, turning the sting of that Miami loss into fuel for the next chapter. The footage from Mallorca this week answers Miami not in words but in action. A 0-6, 2-6 loss in Miami. Training reels on indoor red clay within the same week. A WTA 500 entry list stacked with two former Linz champions. An entire nation flooding social media with pride and anticipation. And at the center of it all, a 20-year-old who faced her worst defeat of the season, chose gratitude, and then showed up at one of the world's premier tennis academies to prepare for the toughest surface transition of her young career. Alex Eala isn't stepping into Linz hoping merely to survive. She is stepping in with preparation, momentum, and the backing of a nation, ready to make her clay court debut count from the very first point. A statement that echoes from Austria all the way to Roland Garros. Can she shock Alexandrova and Ostapenko on the surface they know best and reach the Linz quarterfinals? Or will the clay court veterans prove that experience on red dirt still outweighs fearless ambition? Drop your prediction below. If you've been following Ella's rise since the early rounds, you already know how fast her story moves. Linz begins April 6th, Stuttgart comes next. Madrid is right behind it. The clay chapter is unfolding in real time, and every week delivers a new challenge, a new test. Subscribe now because the next update from Linz could be the one that changes the entire conversation, and you won't want to hear about it secondhand.